Hello and welcome to The Appointment. I'm Pranjal Sharma. Joining me today for a conversation is Guillaume Sicard, who is the president of Nissan India Operations. Guillaume, thank you for being with us on the show.
Thank you very much.
Nissan is a very popular brand in India, and Indians have known about it for many years, though your operations in India are relatively young. How has been the journey of Nissan in India in the last 5 years or so?
Yeah, I think it's a very short journey because we arrived in India with our plant 6 years ago, so it's a very short journey. So far, I think we're learning about the market. We're progressing in this market from 0% market share to 2% market share today in a bit more than 5 years. But I think what is important is that we get the feeling in Nissan, be it here in India but also in Japan, that we do understand more and more the expectation in the Indian market, the expectation of our customers, the way we need to structure the network. So I think it's a learning curve that is extremely accelerated that we're going through, and I think so far it's quite positive.
Did you find it difficult to talk about Nissan as a brand in India?
In India, you have one major brand, automotive brand, who is dominating quite like 50% of the market share. So when you arrive in this market, you need to find some space for you, and it's quite a challenge. Even though Nissan resonates for some people, and I'm talking about global people that are traveling to the US, Middle East, okay, Nissan does mean something, but for all the other people, actually, Nissan didn't mean so much. So we had to work a lot on the awareness, and this is what we have worked on over the last 5 years, actually, making sure that when people think of buying a new car, they think about Nissan. They probably don't know exactly what we sell, they probably don't know exactly the cars and the specs and the price, but what we want to make sure is, oh, okay, I've heard about this brand, it's Japanese, it's reliable, it's good quality, I'm going to go and have a look. So, and this is only for Nissan, but what we have done, we have increased the challenge because 2.5 years ago, we have launched a second brand, which is Datsun.
From my years of growing up in the 80s, that Datsun was a very popular brand in India, and everybody who could import a vehicle would prefer to go for a Datsun. But was it the same experience for you in India for Datsun as well, that you had to, while some people knew about it, but establishing the history of Datsun was an important objective?
No, very few people knew Datsun. And if you do a survey today, you have about 1 person out of 10 in the market to buy a car that knows about Datsun. So it's still extremely minimal. Only people knew about Datsun, people from the south, and people from Kerala, for example, people that were extremely connected to Middle East. Yes, they do know Datsun because Datsun was a very popular brand. It was one of the leading brands in Middle East. It was the #1 brand in many countries in Africa. It was a leading brand in the US, in Japan as well. So people that are very exposed, they knew about Datsun. But globally, in India, the awareness is extremely limited. So what we have to do with Datsun, not only with Nissan, but with Datsun as well, is to make sure that we were top of mind, especially for the people that want to access to the automotive market.
When people come to look at Nissan, do they look at Datsun as well? Or when they come to look at Datsun, do they look at Nissan? How does it work out for you at the showrooms?
That's a very interesting question. I think people first are going to come for a specific brand. They've heard about the Terrano, they've heard about the Micra, so they are going to go to discover the Nissan range. And while they are in the showroom, actually, they are also going to understand that we do the Datsun Go, that we do a 7-seater Datsun Go Plus at 4 lakhs, and that we do the Ready Go as from 2.5 lakhs. So they are going to open up and understand. But they were coming actually for Nissan. Same thing, some other people are coming for the Ready Go, for example. They look at the cars, but they see Nissan as well. So sometimes they can feel like maybe I can escalate to a Micra, but there is a huge gap in terms of price, but I want this and this feature, so they can actually switch. But at the beginning, they come for a very specific choice, and they had something very clear in mind.
How different is your strategy for marketing these in India as distinct from in other markets?
I think globally the Nissan strategy is a very global strategy. We don't make that much difference, and the more we will go within the next few months and years, the more you will see Nissan global, that is to say Nissan US, Nissan Middle East, Nissan Japan. You will see exactly the same Nissan in India. So this is why, for example, we are launching the Nissan GT-R. This is why we will launch beginning of next year the Nissan X-Trail Hybrid, because those cars represent actually the best of technology, the best of quality and know-how of Nissan. So Nissan is a global brand. We're just bringing some successful products. We bring them in India, be it manufactured locally or be it in CBU at the beginning. So this is what we are doing. However, Datsun is a bit different because Datsun answers to a specificity of the Indian market, which means that we have a lot of new entrants. We have a lot of new people with buying power increasing, and we need to answer to their needs. And Nissan is probably too mature as a product, so we need a first level of entry. And this is where actually we're proposing Datsun. Datsun is very good in terms of quality, in terms of technology, in terms of fuel efficiency, because this is very important, in terms of space, and in terms of ground clearance. So this is what the risers and the newcomers to the market want. And with Datsun, we do answer to those specificities and those expectations from this specific market.
And this is when you have one more brand coming into your group, which is Mitsubishi. So that's going to make life even more interesting for you.
Well, I mean, if you go that route today, before talking about Mitsubishi, we have Renault, which is part of the family,
yes,
as you know. So we co-work with Renault in many countries. Actually, globally, there's a lot of alliances that we have throughout the world. And first, before talking about Mitsubishi, our implementation in India is as a family, is with Renault. So we share the plant, we share some research and development capacity, but obviously the sales and marketing is completely independent. We have our own identity, our own sales and marketing. So this is the partnership with Renault, or what we call the alliance with Renault. And it's true that we're entering into a new phase, and I would say a new chapter, if not a new book of our history, with the alliance that we are making with Mitsubishi now. It has been announced a few days ago. And we are going to work exactly like we're working with Renault. We are going to see with Mitsubishi on each and every country what kind of partnership we can have to make our brands and our companies stronger.